All right, well, Rick, we're excited to welcome all the way from Chicago as well, and we see a trend here of talking about sales and impact, and so we're excited to have you share the same. So let's give it up for Rick.
Yes, thanks. We don't need to do the show of hands again. I'm glad I'm going after Amit because I'm kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum there. I'm not a salesperson. In fact, you talk sales funnels, I'm like, that means like talking to people. I want to build stuff. You know, I'm kind of more of that end. So my talk today is more about, okay, maybe you're not, you don't have as mature a sales organization. How do you get that first sale? How do you take what you're building, you know, even if it's a passion project, and try to make some money out of it? What we're going to go through today is just that. How can you use Chipp and use Chipp to build things that are interesting to you, and then again try to make a little extra money from that. My background is I come from a marketing and communications side of the world. I work for a food ingredients company. I've been there about a year. I've been working with Chipp for about a year and a half now. So that kind of predates my current role. But I use those learnings to bring into the organization and backwards and forwards. And so, I'm going to mirror what some other folks said today about the importance of experimentation. Because even building your first app to get that exploration on your belt is super helpful. One of the first apps I built was for my daughter's softball team. And so I did this because I realized that, I'm a coach of the team, but then when the game's over, I'm busy coaching. I kind of didn't really know what happened besides like the plays that day to day. So I worked with somebody to just give me the stats. Then I built a Chipp app to feed the stats into the Chipp app, and it would write an article for me that was a recap of the game. So I share that with the other parents, and they all really enjoyed it. And then I realized, too, that, okay, well, there's not just the game itself, but there's getting to the game, and there are different fields all the time. And somebody's on snack duty, and nobody knows who's on snack duty that Saturday. So I built those other elements in the roster. Okay, so somebody has to text somebody, because somebody's out. I built all those elements into my Chipp app and shared that with folks. And it started just, again, with the other parents on the teams, but they really enjoyed it. And then that became the thing that I was showing to people in those first demos with our first leads is, hey, I've got this thing that I built. It's for my daughter's softball team. But they could use that to see, oh, okay, so I get how you took 3 different information sources and you web scraped some stuff and you put it together into something that's really useful. And so for me, not being a salesperson, that also became a story that I could tell, where I'm doing this on the side. This is not my 9-to-5 job, being a baseball coach. But I've been able to use something that's a passion project and then use it to show to people to say, oh, maybe they've got a son or daughter in sports and they can understand how to use these tools. So like I mentioned, not a salesperson. My background is in marketing communications. I worked in social media for many years. But really it's that experimentation that I've been able to use and develop this, think of this as the sales framework for non-sales people in a lot of ways. And so what I think is first important to understand is what are the needs and motivations of your customers? Really, what are you selling? And I like to use kind of the cake or the icing model. Because in talking with organizations, I'd say probably half the folks that I've talked to who are looking for AI tools, it's not AI tools they're looking for, but they see the hype around AI and think it can solve other problems with them. So it might be that it's really a data analysis problem they have, and we can build an AI tool to help them better segment their data and understand it better, but it's still ultimately a data problem. Whereas other organizations that I've talked to, it's just AI. They don't know what's going on in AI. They want a starting place, and so working together with them to build an education session, a road mapping session, that might be a different way in. And so that's why it's important to understand, are you selling cake or are you selling icing? Is AI the shiny object that they want to go buy, or is AI just the layer on which they need other different types of problems to be solved? So that's number one. Number two is thinking about what business needs do they have. So process efficiency, that's something else we've talked about a lot today. That can be very important, so that's a good place to start. Content generation. Because of my background in social media, a lot of folks that I've talked to have asked me, well, I need to do more on LinkedIn. I don't have time, I'm not a good writer, how do I do more on LinkedIn? And so I've built LinkedIn tools for people to generate better content that's still true to who they are as a professional or who their brand and their organization is. Those are very basic ways in. Automation is one, but then also offers as well. So understanding what are some of the business needs of the people that you're talking to. And then lastly is the emotional needs. And when I say this again, there's different extremes, but I've talked to organizations who FOMO is the big driver. And FOMO in terms of my competitors are using AI, and if I don't, I feel I'm going to get put out of business. I'm literally missing out, and it's going to be a competitive disadvantage if I don't have that. Other people are seeing it the opposite. Hey, I don't know where to start, but I know I need to start using AI. Help me figure out what that starting point is. And that's important because if you understand those emotions, there's a lot of emotion around AI because some people see it as a great opportunity. Some people see it as a threat. I can guarantee you those folks are often in the same organization. And how you can set up whatever you're selling in terms of your AI tools to also take care of those emotional needs is very important. I work with a lot of nonprofits in the Chicago area. A lot of the tools we've built are for these nonprofits. And it was interesting, one of those moments I had was we built a grant writer tool for a nonprofit. Very small outfit, just a handful of people within this organization. And the one person who was in charge of grant writing, in a meeting, someone kind of joked offhandedly, almost kind of meanly, it's like, oh, well, this is gonna take your job. And she goes, actually, it will, but in a good way. Because I spend 80% of my time writing grants. If I could shift that to actually fulfilling my mission and not have to be chasing money so much, then that's going to be better for our organization and the community that we're trying to serve. I'll always remember that because it takes something that is a real genuine fear that people have, but it reframes it in something that they want to actually achieve that's helped their community more. So once you understand these different needs and motivations of the business and the individuals that's involved, then I think it's really important to try to create that light bulb moment. And when I say the light bulb moment, again, I've had this happen with tons of folks that I've talked to, including my 78-year-old father. And that is when you build a very simple demo for them that helps them understand what AI can really do, then the light bulbs start going off, and then that really helps reset the conversation. You can get into really understanding the needs and getting to the solutions that you can provide. And the two light bulb moments that I remember are, one is I had someone, it's actually a neighbor of mine, she was interested in using AI, but was very, and she starts the conversation of, I know you're doing AI stuff, but you know, I went to ChatGPT one time, and I asked it for a recipe, and it didn't give me a good recipe. And that was her frame of mind was that, oh, it's a search tool, and I didn't like the search results, so therefore the tool is bad and not worthwhile. But I showed her about, she's very into writing, that's her profession. But I showed her, hey, if you use it for creative writing this way, you can shave off so much time of your work. And that was her big light bulb moment. The other side is with my 78-year-old father, who's a tax accountant. And we were talking about using AI for marketing his business. He was kind of like, oh yeah, whatever, I don't need to do that stuff. And I said, okay, well, let's just sit down. We put together a very simple prompt. And I said, well, you know, you're in Tennessee, a lot of your clients are retired. How do you make something that appeals to them? And I said, so okay, let's work with Chipp here, put together a very simple marketing assistant. And I said, all right, now we're gonna have it write a blog post for me. 5 reasons why a person on a fixed income should hire a tax professional to do their taxes. And then, you know, as you've seen when using AI, think, brrr, here's your results. And he's like, oh, damn. Like, that was his light bulb. He's like, I get it now. I see what this can do. So creating that light bulb moment for your prospects, your potential customers, is super important because it helps bridge some wide gaps there. Okay, then once you've got that interest, a couple things you can do to land that first account, to drive adoption, and then really grow the business. Okay, so when you're landing that first account, don't start asking for a sale, you ask to validate a hypothesis. So put together a pitch deck. A pitch deck is, hey, I've got this idea, and I'm looking for feedback on this idea. So early 2024, when we were first talking to organizations, we weren't saying, hey, we've got this AI tool, come buy our AI tool. It was, we have a theory on how AI can help a nonprofit organization. Let us know what you think. And I had some meetings where before the meeting's even done, they're like, yeah, okay. I know you're not pitching me, but I want to buy. And validating that hypothesis also makes it a much lower stakes conversation with the person on the other side of the table, because they don't feel that they're getting a hard sell and you're sitting there with a proposal in your back pocket asking for a check. It's more about a conversation. Okay, you want to validate those ideas with your partners as you go too. Because something else that I've seen, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later, is you might get an interested party, you might get a party who's interested in one thing, but by the time they start using AI for whether it's 3 days or 3 months, they will change the scope for you, which can be scope creep, which has to be managed, but it can also be a positive thing once they start to see the many different options and ways that you can use your AI. And then lastly, you got to think about high value and low friction. So how do you make things as easy as possible for people to be able to say yes? And is that easiness in terms of the pricing? Yeah, but it shouldn't be just about pricing. It's about high value. And so again, thinking back to the nonprofits, a lot of the friction that they have is around funding. And so that's where the grant writer comes in, because we can come in and say, we can save you 80% of your time on grant writing and use that to help move your mission. Okay, and then how do you make the low friction there? It's by ease of use and then the pricing as well. Once you've got that first sale though, you need to make sure that you're driving adoption with your folks as well. We like to, Rob and I, my business partner, we like to joke, we've made probably all the mistakes in the sales process as we've developed our organization. Driving adoption is one of the ones that's critical, because it's great, you know, like Maria said, it's great you build this tool, but if no one's using it, then you're gonna fall off. And so when you drive adoption, once you've got somebody to say, yes, I want to buy that tool from you, I want to hire you for the service, you need to set together a training plan. You need to have a customer success plan. So how do you ensure that your customer is going to be using the tool and getting value out of it besides just that one-time excitement from a kickoff meeting? This will require documentation and support and regular client engagement. And fortunately, with Chipp, you can set up processes for all these things to help take a lot of that and automate those things along the way. At the basic level, you got to check the chat logs. So again, it was mentioned earlier, one of the underlying features of Chipp is the chat logs. You got to check your chat logs. Make sure that your customers are using the tools. That's an early warning sign if they're not. And so getting in front of them and making sure that's continuing. Okay, so you got that first client, they're using the tools. Well, what's next? How do you grow from there? That's where road mapping comes in. Again, if you're using AI in any shape or form, you start to very quickly realize that there's one thing I'm doing, but there's 3 other things I could be doing on top of this. Take those ideas and build them into a roadmap. A roadmap that is, here's the next tool, here's the next chat, here's the next bot that you want to build. You want to think about integrations across the business. So like Amit was saying before, it's here, but there's 5 other things we could do as an organization with your AI tools. And you can build other AI strategies and services on top of that. And so just mapping that out for a customer, it gives them not just a roadmap for how they can grow, but also gives them a very approachable way. Because in an organization, if you've got grassroots adoption of AI, there's always going to be more ideas that people have. And a roadmap can help you schedule those ideas to be implemented over time. If you're in an organization where there's the CIO or the CFO, if they've got a pet project that they want to do, then you can put that on the roadmap to make sure it's still getting the attention that it deserves, but it may not be the first thing that you want to implement when you're working with an organization. And then lastly, is in pricing, okay? It's cool we're building this stuff. We've got these great tools that we built, but hey, we still need to make some money on this. So you think about what is your right pricing model. And so it might be a fee for service, it might be a one-time project, it might be a setup of maintenance, it might be a subscription. There's no one-size-fits-all for this. In fact, I've tried different things with different clients and not had any single one be that exact right one. In the nonprofit associations and mission-driven organizations I've worked with, typically something that's a one-time project is a little bit easier, I found, because that can be often covered by a grant, and is something if they have a one-time project but they can use it longer term, they can sometimes meter that out in terms of cost over time. When you're developing your pricing model, you want to make sure that you're covering your elements too. Again, in all the mistakes that you could be made, one of the biggest mistakes is creating something with a pricing model that's not making sure you're getting a fair return for your investment of time and expertise and energy into this. So, okay, cover your chip licensing. Got to get that done first. Number 2 is any other software. So if you've got a tech stack, if you've got other tools that you're integrating in there, making sure those are covered as well. So your labor. Okay, so even if you're a sole practitioner, if you have somebody who's helping you out with sales development, you have someone who's helping you out with bookkeeping, making sure those costs are covered as well. Any overhead you had, so your cell phone. Again, my dad's a tax accountant, so he's drilled into me, you know, mileage. If you're driving a mile down the street, expense that mile. So that's what he's always told me. And then don't be afraid to put a little margin in there too. You know, make sure you've got your profitability set up as well. So really, that's it from the how to develop your sales model from the non-sales guy. And I'm around all week for any questions as well.
Thank you. All right, great job, Rick.